I just put one in this presentation, but this is like an ablution house. So before you go into prayer, you have to very ritualistically cleanse yourself. So it's a very specific, like you wash your feet while saying a prayer or while doing something specific, and then your legs and your armpits. And it's a very systematic way of cleansing yourself before you go pray to God. So every mosque has one of these outside, and you don't have to do it. So obviously they understand that people own showers and things, but you'll see people, in suits and ties kind of washing themselves, getting undressed and washing themselves, and then going in, and there's, men and women are separate. So those ablution houses were beautiful examples of Ottoman and Seljuk architecture. So right on day one, this is the first morning, we're jet lagged like crazy. It's 5 a.m, and so this is our first day there. I can tell this is from day 3, but this is the view you get from the museum. So from the from the balcony looking down, it's kind of interesting to point out. So all of these, so Muslims are iconoclasts. They don't have any depictions of human figures. It's absolutely banned, illegal, halal, to have a depiction of Muhammad, let alone God, in any way. Like the Sistine Chapel would be a horrible thing for Muslims because it's just people everywhere. So a lot of the mosques that you're about to see, they defaced, if they had like Jesus or the saints or Mary, they would just chisel away those mosaics. But in this case, they did recognize the importance, and so they just covered. So behind that is a saint, like one of the 4 evangelists or one of the disciples, I don't know. But those were really big mosaics of saints, and they covered them up. That means Allah. I know that. I don't know the rest. That's looking down. So that's the whole floor. This is the direction facing Mecca and Jerusalem. The women's part is over here underneath. And then there's a library back there full of Muslim holy books. There's another great view. I forget what this was, if this is where the baptismal was. So they uncovered this in museum days. Underneath all of this is mosaics, and they restored this in the 1920s. And then in 2020, when they made this into a mosque again, they covered it back up. So there are beautiful mosaics under there. This is a weird example. So somebody wrote, that's a Christian symbol. You're going to see in the next picture. So this is defaced. And what I mean by they're iconoclastic is they don't even like fleur-de-lis. They don't even like flowers. I mean, if it's from the natural world, so that's why they lean into calligraphy and patterns, stars and those kind of things. So I was kind of shocked they're defacing, look at that again. Like there was a heart and a fleur-de-lis and a, it's like, what a weird thing to do, but okay. I mean, you'll see more crass examples. But so this is actually covering Jesus. There's the Virgin Mary there. There's white shrouds. And I think I have a couple more. Just the neat Byzantine embellishments, architecture. It was all painted, all mosaics, marble everywhere. If the marble chipped off somewhere, they would paint it in that marble pattern. I mean, they did their best. It's 1,500 years old. That is actually not a door. That is wood. That is stone carved to look like a door. I thought that was neat. And you could tell people kept touching it to try to see if it's real. It's not. This is on the scavenger hunt. There's a Viking that scratched in his name up here. Something like, I forget, Bulgar was here or whatever. But over the years, it's been a tourist site, even going back to 10th century Viking days. Oh yeah, that might be it. Mustafa, somebody named Mustafa, 1973. That's not that old. That's actually one of the shrouds. So there's Mary and Jesus, or maybe, peeking out from behind it. So you can kind of see up from the balcony. You can see them hiding there. And then this was just out of sight, kind of. This was upstairs in the balcony area. So that's what that would have looked like. Those are mosaics. Those are tiny little pieces of gold. And I learned a lot about mosaics because Byzantines were really into it. So they They used everything they had. They would use glazed ceramics. They would use pieces of glass. They would use gold covered things, all kinds of lapis lazuli and all that stuff, whatever gemstones they had. They used everything they could to get those mosaics to pop like that. Your guess is as good as mine. So we did lie. We on day one, 6 a.m. We went to the front door. I said, "I am Muslim. We go pray." And so that's us on the floor. I'm like, I respect that whole culture a lot, but it was a church for 900 years first, so it is what it is. Some rules were meant to be broken. So we got some good shots. We went to prayers 3 times the first 3 days. I mean, the third one we were like sitting there with the Muslims, like head to butt, bowing when they do. We were doing the whole 9. Yeah, there's me. Oh, hey, I have a podcast in Arabic called History of Germany that I never even think about unless I'm in that part of the world. I'm like, oh yeah, by the way. So I paid a Syrian refugee who lives in Cairo to translate one of my podcasts for Syrian refugees that live in Germany. So it's German history, but in Arabic. So I got my hat. I gave that hat away when I was in Turkey. So that's them actually praying. So they kind of do a prayer, and then an imam, a priest, I don't know. He actually gives a kind of a sermon. Like you could tell he was just talking regular speak, and then it was back to a prayer, almost like a hymn. Their prayers are sung. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. I was amazed. I had a spiritual moment there. That's the Blue Mosque. And they're kind of built in the same way. So you could tell they took the idea of a Roman dome, but they put it up on stilts, and then they carved out each wall to create additional domes. And then even those domes have smaller, so it's domes on domes on domes. And it was the biggest interior structure until we built a basketball arena or whatever. I mean, it was for 1,000 years, that was the record for the biggest dome until I think actually St. Peter's in the Vatican. And that was not an accident. So the Pope got jealous. And that was like 15 something, 14 something. When was St. Peter's built? So 1,000 years after this? I mean, no, that's the Renaissance. So